Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided. This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy and other Eagan community television programming is supported by Thomson Reuters, makers of Westlaw Next and based in Eagan. Through Westlaw Next and other innovative online services, Thomson Reuters is the world's leading source of intelligent information for businesses and professionals. Online at thomsonreuters.com. And by U.S. Federal Credit Union, the member-owned financial institution offering service, value, and experience you can trust to the greater Twin Cities community.
Hi, welcome to Access to Democracy. I'm Roxanne Meshar. I'm your co-host today. And my guest with us is Debra Hugunin from Debra@buildhealth.com. And she's a business owner and wellness coach and very interested in sustainability. And just to put it in context, Debra and I have been friends for many years. And I know that her interest in sustainability and the environment and the planet and water extends back all those many years. And we thought it would be interesting for viewers to hear the kinds of things she's learned and some of the tips and tricks that she's learned about how to live more sustainably, how to live better, in fact, just in our everyday lives in ways that we mainly don't think about. So thank you for being willing to be on the show with us today. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I think we'll probably just start with a little bit about your background. I know you were willing to come on Access to Democracy because you had a sense that the values of the show also linked with your values. So maybe you can say a little more about that.
Well, that's true, particularly with Earth Day coming up. I feel like each of us has a responsibility in making sure that our Earth, our Mother Earth, is safe for us and to take care of it for generations to come.
Yes.
So from that standpoint, talking about your work here and helping get some words out on different topics of interest that are pertinent to our day here.
This is probably one of the biggest topics we have, sustaining the planet.
It is. It is. It's so critical. And right now, it's so great because Earth Day is coming up. And while Earth Day is only one day a year on April 22nd, I'm part of a larger group where we have like Earth Day Every Day network. So Eden, and I'm part of a lot of different groups for that, where it's not just about what we're doing on Earth Day, go plant a tree, which is great. We don't want to discourage that, but there's so many things that we can do each and every day to help make our world a safer place and our resources manageable.
Yes. And all those other things that we can do the other days of the year are a little bit about what we wanted to talk about today, because people often think, well, okay, I go out, I plant a tree on Earth Day, maybe I donate to my local park system, maybe I buy the license plate that has money that goes to state parks or whatever, to lakes, and then I'm done. That's about it. But I did notice early on when I first, one of the very first few times I was visiting your home or at your house, I thought, well, this house is running a little bit differently than most, and some different things are going on here than in your normal suburban home at the time. And I know that a lot of the things that you do are things that ultimately all of us are going to be doing in the future because out of necessity, but you're kind of ahead of the curve, and you've been experimenting and working with a lot of things all along the line. So I don't know, we'll talk about a number of them today. We won't get to all of them, but we'll see how far we get. But one of the things I know that's so important to you is that really small changes can have big effects. So maybe give a couple examples of how that might work, if you can think of some.
Well, you're absolutely correct. I do think that because with my small changes and with your small changes and with our neighbors' small changes, they do make a big difference.
Yes.
Something as little as maybe when you go to the store, to the grocery store, trying not to buy packaging. Because the more packaging we have, the more it's going to go. And if we're buying more whole foods, of our vegetables and our fruits, it's a lot easier to compost. And composting is acceptable really in all of our communities, whether we're urban, suburban, and certainly rural. We can do that as well.
So we can start with composting. So I did notice that at your house, for example, you do composting. Share how that happens and what's the process. How you don't make a trip to the backyard to the compost place every time you have something.
Right.
So maybe you can talk about how that works.
Well, we've been composting so many years. I don't remember. I mean, it's been over 15, maybe 20 years that we've been composting, and basically, any of your produce, your things. We haven't gotten to the point where we're doing paper. We keep ours really organic, just with our vegetables and our fruits. And certain things you find, trial and error. It takes a long time for corn cobs to go down. So we don't do corn cobs anymore.
What about coffee grounds?
Well, we don't drink coffee at our house,
not an
but I'm
issue.
sure coffee grounds would work fine. And I think that those filters would probably work as well. But the nice thing is what we did start off by getting a very nice ceramic urn that we kept on our counter. And it does fill up fast depending upon how much we're eating, and so we'll take that, and maybe once or twice a day we just go out to, it's right out the back door, and we put it out there, and then bless my husband, he turns it for us every couple of days. You can compost year round. We don't tend to compost year round. We lose about 4 months out of the year just because he's not home enough to be able to turn it that often, and in the winter it does get solid because of all the moisture in your vegetables and fruits.
It's not just sitting outside your back door. It's in a container. It's in
something. Sorry.
For viewers, people that don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a large container that we got through the county, like I said, 15, 20 years ago. And so it's plastic. But when you turn it, it just all decomposes. I mean, you could have this much in your compost, and in another month or two, I mean, it's just really small. And then we just use it. We decide, when, and then we put it out in the garden or some of our gardens because it's great for fertilizer.
Yeah.
Natural. Compost hill. That's what it does.
Pretty easy to do. So you can call the county or Google it or whatever.
Exactly. And here in Dakota County, I know that they have them available.
Okay.
And particularly they may even have them at our Eco Recycling Center.
Oh, okay.
They may or may not. I don't know that for 100%.
That'd be a place to check, or they'll know where you can get them.
Yeah, certainly
So
Dakota County is really forward thinking on that, and they have a lot of resources.
Another thing I know that is a little different at your house is water and how water gets handled and what gets done with water. So, and I know you brought some things with you today to even share more about that.
I did. I'm not sure how I got this, but I've always been kind of a water Nazi, it seems like.
Water Nazi?
Yes, that's what my kids would say, because, how long is your shower? What are we doing? I happen to have my great nephew at my house. I watch him every so often just to take him for a treat. And he was drinking his water, and when he was done, what he didn't drink, he put down the sink. I said, Zach, what are you doing? We don't throw water away. We never throw water away at our house. We have a bucket that we keep by our sink. So if, in fact, you had something that happened to it, and you weren't finishing your water for some reason, everybody at our house has their own glass. So we all use the same one. So for starters, okay, we have our own because I'm not really about sharing germs. The kids come home from school. And
you're a mom with kids, so
yes,
a lot of moms have figured out to do this, but maybe not everybody. But
sure. So, they've got their identifiers on whether cup, whatever it is. One of them has flowers, one of them's got nothing, another one, whatever, big, tall, whatever. So, everybody has their own glass. And so for example, I like to use cold water to fill up my pitcher. Well, if I was just using hot water because I was doing dishes, and I'm switching it over to the cold, I have a bucket that I keep right by the sink. So I put the bucket in the sink as I'm switching over to the cold water to catch the water.
Okay, so it just doesn't go down the drain.
It just doesn't go down the drain.
To cool off.
Exactly. Okay. So then I put the cold water in the pitcher. Then I take the bucket. It's just an ice cream bucket, and I put it on the side of the sink. So now when somebody comes and they've had Cheerios or who knows what they've had, rather than turning on the water to rinse out the bowl,
they can use that.
They just use the bucket, and then they just pour a little bit in.
So it's just
we're just kind of
conserving
that water. We're just reusing, conserving. I just feel like there's so many, and I mean, people have plants around their home. They may have flowers outside in their front stoop or whatever. You can use it for all kinds of things. Okay. Yeah, it's one of the things that we do when it comes to water around our house, and just talking about that water. Just if we do, just take a couple of minutes, because
of course,
the whole thing about bottled water versus water from your home is such a huge impact, not only in our homes, in our communities, but as a world. I mean, here's a frightening statistic. 1 in 9 people don't have access to safe water in the world. To get bottled water, like if you're going to get a liter of water, it takes 3 liters of water to produce that one.
Wow. Because of the plastic.
Because of the plastic.
Okay.
When you talk about the plastic alone, just here in the U.S., we use 17 million barrels of oil a year just to produce the bottles for the water. And that would be the equivalent to fuel 1.3 million cars for a year.
Wow. As a theologian and a ethicist, I have an issue with bottled water because it makes people feel like they should pay for drinking water, when in fact water is a basic human right. So I have a problem with selling water in the first place in places and locations where it isn't necessary, where there is tap water. And oftentimes people will say, oh, but I don't know if the tap water is good. But I will tell you, and you probably know this, municipal tap water is regulated and is, in every case that it's been tested, far better than what's in bottled water, because you don't know what's in bottled water and there is no regulation in bottled water. So in fact, if you really want safe water, go for tap water. But mainly this idea that we should bottle it and sell it and that people don't have right to water is wrong. They do have right to water by virtue of being a human person, just like you have a right to clean air, you have a right to healthy food. And we know this as a society because we make sure children have food and clean air and the things they need to grow, and the people who are ill and the elderly and so forth. So we already acknowledge this as a culture. But for some reason, when people want to hijack water supply and sell water, now the idea is out there, that you should buy it by the pint or the quart and you should pay for it. Well, that's a problem. So.
And when that began, I suppose it was in the 70s or early 80s when they started having bottled water. I mean, early on people were like, I'm not paying for water, but it's become so commonplace. It's become more of a convenience, I think, for people. And as a culture, I think that's probably at the base of a lot, is the convenience of things. We have so much more technology now that's supposed to make our lives easier, yet in fact it probably is a bit of a burden, which I have this discussion with my teenager. But the point is you can have, if you want to make sure that your water is even safer and maybe some of the things are taken out, you could have your own pitcher at home. And the economics of that are so much greater.
It's huge.
It's huge. So bottled water, you talked about that briefly. Everybody should have access to water. I think it's something like 28% of the water that they sell in bottles is really just municipal water.
So you're paying twice for your water.
So you're paying twice.
You're paying in your taxes or you're paying in your water bill, and you can pay for it again.
Exactly.
You brought a filtered pitcher with you today, so maybe you can
I did. Okay,
that up and show it.
By using a water pitcher at your own home to filter your water, if you will, right from the tap, I want to make sure that I'm getting my statistics. First of all, this happens to be, I found this pitcher because it takes out like 56 different contaminants, which I like.
Okay.
And you're right, our water supply is safe, and we're grateful for the safe water that we have access to. There are other ones on the market. They're not going to maybe take out as much, but guess what? Anything that you're going to be doing is going to be better than buying the water.
Yes.
So you're going to be saving in all kinds of ways. In this particular case, this one is made out of sustainable materials. So I like that it's made out of coconut. So I mean, everything about it is sustainable, and it does well in that regard.
And then if people have, and many people do not but many people carry containers for their water during the day that they use and fill. So you can put the water in here, fill your container, go to work, and
that's the point.
Take your water bottle with you.
Yeah, the economics of using your own water from home versus buying bottled. I mean, just using this pitcher with the filters and everything, like for a year, it's something like $3,400 bottles of water. Okay, so first of all, not only you're saving all that money, but think about the landfill. Because what's interesting about water bottles with the plastic that they use, the PET plastic, it doesn't break down in our landfills. And it leaches out and causes more problems.
And some gets recycled, but quite frankly, there's a huge sludge, an island of them floating out in our oceans because they don't all get recycled, and they often don't make it.
10%. They figure 10% of the water bottles created worldwide are at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh,
Isn't that terrible?
that is terrible.
It's just, it is. It's mind-boggling and disturbing all at the same time. So, because each of us, I think, has the right, as you said earlier, and additionally the responsibility to be able to make a difference, doing something simple, because that's what you asked me. You said, what kinds of simple changes, small steps can we take? This is what we're talking about.
This is
We're
a simple
talking about
change.
a simple, small step. It's not that huge.
And I think many of us in Minnesota, because we're in the land of 10,000, 20,000 lakes, and we see the flooding every year, we have this imagination idea in our head, this image that we have endless clean water. But in fact, our aquifers are limited just like everyone else's. And the runoff that happens is not captured. And it's not like we have endless water, even though it may appear to us when we live in a land where it floods and so forth, that water's not an issue for us. Water is an issue for us. It's an issue for even more so in California and other places right now. But it's going to certainly be an issue here as well. Those aquifers are limited.
You know, when people look at the economy of, our country, of our society, as it were, people look at oil as being so valuable. Like, it's so precious, so we need to frack. We need to, go into places that are sacred land just so we can refine and pull out the oil. And the reality is it's going to be a very short order where people are going to recognize that water is the most valuable resource, because we can live on a lot less things, but water is one of those things that we need for sustenance.
Yes, we need water every day. You can't go without water. You can go a
Exactly.
long time without oil.
Exactly. And here's another piece on the same topic about the water and about saving. And to me, one of the things that makes a huge difference, and I'll tell you a quick story, how I actually got started on using different products around my home. Because talk about small things that we can do to make a difference. Well, my oldest is now in his early 30s, my son. And as a young mom, which I was, I remember cleaning the bathroom, having the fan on. And he came in, and I'm saying, no, don't come in here, I'm cleaning, you can't come in, it's dangerous. Well, and after a while, you get the Mr. Yuck stickers around the house. You realize, what's the point of this? This is not working. If I have to keep my kid out of here, have Mr. Yuck stickers around the house, how good is that for me too? So, I did like so many people do, experimenting with this and that, and I was using the baking soda, and I was using vinegar, and you find though that, jeepers, are not working necessarily as good as I wanted them to be working. And then you got the smell with the vinegar and this and that. So,
Yes.
so it was a search for me to find something that was going to work. And the products that I use, which are like Basic H stands for household, it's pretty amazing to me how when we go through maybe the Sunday ads, or you watch TV, and depending upon the time of day that you might have the TV on, all of the ads for all of the cleaning products.
Like a Windex or like things like that.
And different things. They want you to have different things for your counter, for your stove, for your windows, all these things.
There's fantastic. There's a whole aisle in the
aisle
supermarket devoted to
aisle
very
says in
clean.
plural, exactly, because this is what they want you to believe, because there's big money. Well, guess why? Because much of what they're shipping is they put a little bit of the product in, but the rest of it is water.
So it's mainly water.
So it's mainly water. So, okay, now we're spending this money on these products. Second of all, when we're spraying them around, we're breathing them in. Our incidence of asthma has just skyrocketed in the last 30 years because of the products that people are bringing into their homes. It gets on your skin. Our skin is our largest organ. Up to 60% of what our skin is exposed to is absorbed into our body. So there's so many more incidents of health concerns and
So
products.
to use a product like a Basic H or something like that is a concentrate where it doesn't come with the water, basically.
Exactly.
You are adding water to it.
That's all we do. That's all we do. And it's so effective at being able to clean it. There is no smell. And I think one of my biggest things, I'm not sure which is my biggest thing, that were safe in our home and we got rid of the Mr. Yuck stickers 25 years ago, or the fact that what goes down the drain isn't going to be a negative impact. It's
And
going to
not
be a zero impact.
Destroying our water.
And that, I think, is something that people really need to kind of take a little bit of time to consider, because there's so much that goes, people that are on medications, you know,
Down
there's
the drain and
down
into
the
the
drain.
system.
There's hormone replacement therapy. There's so much of that that's getting into our
Even
system.
cholesterol medications, they say now, are showing up everywhere in runoff and in all kinds of things where it's affecting the environment.
It is.
So,
It is. I mean, it used to be when I was a child, which is many years ago. Come mid to late August, they called it like dog days. The weather got hotter, and you'd start seeing the green algae. Well, as soon as the ice is out practically here on
Yeah,
our ponds
green
and
algae
lakes,
all
it's
year.
all year.
Yeah.
Choking out our aquatic balance is really a concern.
and Minnesotans can see that. I mean, many of us live on lakes, and we do see those, or we walk around them, or we're near them. But we do see the algae is the bloom of algae is there from April or end of April all the way until September.
It
so
is. It is.
It's not
It's a
a
huge
late
concern.
August thing anymore.
Yeah, it is.
So
Well, the other thing I wanted to when you talk about small changes and things that can make a difference, for me, and you ask what we do in our home.
Yes.
Well, I used to have my own garden, and I still do. I grow a couple of things, but I get tired of fighting with the deer and the rabbits when I can just go to the farmer's market and get everything I want, and I get to pick. And they're so good at that. They put all the nice things there. You can talk to the grower right there.
Yes.
I love being able to talk to the farmer, to the grower, and I like to be able to support them too, because they make a big impact on our communities.
can I hold up the?
Please, do that.
So Minnesota Grown is the directory from the state of Minnesota, from the Minnesota Grown.
MinnesotaGrown.com.
.com,
Yep.
yes, and it tells all of the farmers markets and all of the artisan foods and all kinds of things that are going on in our state, and where you can find a farmers market near your house, the hours that it's running, the days that it runs, so that you can stop on your way to or from work, and you can check it out, and in the summertime maybe see what you might like to purchase.
And there are more and more satellite markets that are going on, like even in the city. So they don't even have to do it on the way to and from work. You can do it
Right.
on your lunch hour.
Oh, that's true.
It's awesome.
That's true,
They've got a
so-
lot of nice options. And so that's one thing that we do, because, again, less packaging, fresh food. And when you think about it, if you're buying local, you're not purchasing and contributing, if you will, to all the transportation that it takes to get food here.
Yes.
We're taking our local products, supporting our local economy, as well
yes.
as the transportation piece that goes on with
So
it.
less oil, less packaging, less everything.
Exactly.
And supporting local.
And fresher food to
and
be
fresher.
into boot. So that's all good.
And it does last longer in your refrigerator. I am always surprised that you get things from the grocery store and maybe you get a week on them. But from the farmer's market, it hasn't spent 9 days getting here. So in fact, you get another week and a half maybe, and if you store it correctly,
Yep.
that produce will last a long time.
It does.
So-
And if you're going to go and pick your own kinds of produce, pick your own strawberries, pick your own raspberries, blueberries, we do all of it, apples and things like this, the farm always gives you nice tips for being able to store things
They
so
do.
that they're going to stay fresh longer.
We don't have a lot of time left, but you mentioned picking your own produce and your own fruit and things. And I know you go apple picking, and that's another thing I noticed at your house. So you have a separate refrigerator. So what happens to all those apples? Like, how many apples do you pick, first of all?
Well, that kind of depends. Our house is a bit of a fluctuation as to how many people are living there.
At any given time.
At any given time, that's true. But we pick a couple of bushels because so many of them now are becoming better keepers.
So-
And when you learn how to do it,
So maybe 60 to 90 pounds of apples.
oh yeah.
At least, maybe
Yeah.
more, 100
Yes.
pounds of apples.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So most people would say, what am I going to do with that?
Well, and in our house, pretty much everybody has at least an apple a day because I kind of am big on that. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. So, and particularly when, again, they're local, so now we don't have to worry about the other kinds of things that they might have sprayed on them
Right.
for the transportation purposes.
Right.
We know that they're going to be safer for us to be able to eat, and again, stored properly, they last us into January.
So where do you put 100 pounds of apples then? They wouldn't fit in my fridge. So
Oh, well,
have-
I don't know what you're going to do. Okay, there have been times when we had a problem with our extra refrigerator, and we actually did keep them in large coolers in the garage, which was cooler to begin with because it was
Okay.
fall, and then kept a little bit of moisture in them then, and we did do that.
So if you
So-
have an extra refrigerator, keep them in there.
Yes.
Or keep them in coolers. And I think you mentioned they last until like through January. They last a long time.
They do. Yeah, when we do everything properly. And depending upon what it is, a lot of people like to make applesauce, or people will cut them up and get them ready for other kinds of things that they might be baking.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can do that in advance.
A little processing, like you do with tomatoes, maybe.
Yes.
Get them into a Ziploc bag and in your freezer and layer them up, stack
Yeah.
them up.
Yeah. I'm more about freezer paper than I am about Ziploc, because again, it's petroleum based.
Good point.
I got
Thank you.
issues.
See, so that's another thing. So then what would you do? You'd use freezer paper.
I do use freezer
Okay.
paper, and I just wrap, and I'm a big masking tape person.
Okay.
But I don't even want to tell you, because I save the masking tape too. It's like, my gosh, my family's, but they're used to it. That's what they grew up on, so that's the way it works.
But that's sustainability. That's about keeping, conserving the resources that we have. So you're about educating people to choose sustainability and vote for sustainability, and do that with every dollar you spend. So
Exactly.
say a little more. So farmers
Well,
markets are one way.
Exactly, and again, I go back to, I might be one person, but cumulatively we do make a difference. And of course, I go back to Gandhi, be the change you want to see. So where I choose to spend my money, I support the stores I want, because if they have a philosophy that I agree with, then I'm going to shop there. Same thing with the farmers market. Same thing where it comes to even where you purchase your energy for your home. So buying green energy is going to make a difference, because they're sustainably sourced. If we're talking about wind energy, if we're talking about solar energy, again, you get to choose how you're going to spend your money.
And we have a solar
have a
energy,
voice.
a solar panel producer who was just on the show here recently, Maui Engineering, which makes solar panels here in Egan that people can put on their home, in fact. So that's one way to purchase that energy.
So when you recognize that you do make a difference, your actions and how you spend your money do make a difference, because eventually they will sway the direction of how people are producing things and how we're consuming things.
And even trying to use less oil, consolidating trips with your automobile. A lot of people don't think about that. They hop in the car for every little thing. But truth is, if you're going to one side of town, try to consolidate and go to all the things you need to on that side of town.
Get your little list together.
Yes.
And stop here, stop there, or carpool.
Or carpool, exactly.
Exactly, and especially if you've got kids.
And if you have a bike. If you can
Exactly.
walk.
If you can do that, and you've got the ability, or public transportation.
Yes.
We have really improved it here in the Twin Cities. On our public transportation, it's become far more accessible.
And people are using it too. I'm using it where I never thought I would before. And it is very enjoyable, and it is nice and pretty low-key, low-cost, and easy. We only have a couple of seconds left, so I want to thank you so much for being with us today. I hope you come back. We didn't get to talk about other things as well. We only covered a few things on our list.
It goes so
but
darn
that's
fast.
okay. It does go fast. But thank you so much, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching Access to Democracy.
Thank you.